Hi, and welcome to another video by Jim the Car Guy. Today we have a 2008 Nissan Altima. We're going to be replacing the rear brakes and rotors. What we're going to do is we're going to be removing the brake caliper from right here. We're going to take out this bolt and this bolt. We're going to remove the mounting bracket back here, this bolt. And there's another bolt underneath here, this bolt right here. We're going to take those two bolts out and remove the bracket. This one's a little bit different because when you unscrew this bolt right here, it's going to hit right into this rod here, and you won't be able to remove it all the way. So we're just going to take this out, flip it down, and we're going to take out the two 19mm bolts to hold the mounting bracket to the car itself. So let's grab some tools and we're going to get started. We are going to be changing these rotors, and the reason we're going to do it is they're pretty much rusted on the inside. They're making a lot of noise, so we're going to be replacing the rotors at the same time. So let's get some tools and let's get started on this job. First thing we're going to do is we're going to get in here with the screwdriver. You put a screwdriver back behind the brake pad and the caliper, and you pry the piston back into the bore until it's recessed all the way. And the reason you're going to do that is you want to make sure your slide pins are sliding just the way they're supposed to. And as you can see, the caliper slides back and forth nice and freely. So we know that the slide pins are working just the way they're supposed to. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to loosen up those 14mm bolts that hold the caliper to the car. You can break it loose. And we're just going to take the top one out because the bottom one, it won't come out all the way because it's going to hit into there. But we're just going to loosen it so that we can move it a little bit. And the bottom one, you'll need to get in here with the wrench just to loosen it up. And we'll fold it back like this. And then what we need to do is we need to take out the 19mm bolts that hold the mounting bracket to the car itself. And as you're going to find out, the lower bolt you won't be able to get on here with a regular ratchet because that rod is in the way. So you're going to need a 19mm wrench to get onto that bolt, just so we can get that mounting bracket from the out of here. A lot of times they're pretty tight. You can usually break them loose. If you can't, I usually just double up a wrench on it, and it gives you a little bit more leverage. By adding the wrench to it, you can get a little more leverage out of it, and you don't kill yourself trying to get it out. And once you've got them loose, you can take them out by hand. Most of the time. This one here is a little bit rusty, so it's a little tight. We're going to reuse that bolt, so just put it on the side for now. Same thing here, just take the top one out. It's a little bit tight too, so we are going to use the ratchet on this one. Right, take the bolts out, and we're going to remove the caliper with the mounting bracket too. Don't leave it hanging, leave it up on something so that it's not dangling. If you have a piece of wire, you can wire it up someplace. In this case, we're just going to leave it laying right up there and we'll be fine. Now we're just going to get this rotor off, so let me grab a hammer and we're going to give that a couple of taps. Usually if you hit it in the face right here, you can get it to pop off. If that doesn't work and it's pretty rusty on there, because sometimes they are pretty rusty, I usually get behind it with the pry bar. Put the pry bar right behind the bracket that the mounting bolt fit into, the 19 millimeter. You put it behind this, and you put a little bit of pressure on it, and you hit it a couple of times on the face, and you get it to pop right off. In this case, we didn't have to. It did come right off. So I only grabbed the new rotors, and we're going to put the new rotors on, we'll put the new pads on, and we're going to go from there. I just want to show you another thing that we're going to be doing too. Let me get set up, and we'll come right back. What I wanted to show you is what we're going to do here is we're going to be replacing the hardware on the back caliper here. So we're going to take the brake pads out. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take this clip right here and just pry this out. We're going to change the hardware because they're pretty rusty. If these are very rusty in here, you can use sandpaper or a file or whatever you can to get that rust out. In this case, it's not a significant amount of rust, so we're just going to file it a little bit so that it's nice and clean. Same thing on this side here, a little bit of rust here. We're just going to file it down just so we have all that rust out of there. We're going to put our mounting hardware back in. There's only one way it can go. It just pushes right back in just like this here. And the clips fit right up against there. Same thing on the top of here. You just put it up in here and push it in. And it's in. Alright? Next thing we're going to do is you're going to take the brake pad and we're going to make sure we use the same sensor in the same location. See, this one is actually a mirror image, so we're not going to use this one. This is the one that we need. And we know it's an inner brake pad because there is the circle that's from the piston touching from the caliper. Right. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to put grease, brake grease, on every place that the brake pad is going to touch. We put a good amount on there. Same thing here. And grease it up really good. That way everything slides nice and freely as it's supposed to. And then we're going to put the one that had the sensor on the inside, we're going to put that in there. Like this. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. We're going to put the outer brake pad in, and they freely move in and out. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of lubricant where the pins are going to go, the slide pins, so that they slide in and out just the way they're supposed to. You could put the grease in here, or you could put the grease on the bolt here also. Alright? Now we're going to put the caliper back up inside there. We're going to get the rotor, and we'll wrap this job back up. Okay, just want to show you real quick. Even though you get the part store to give you the right rotors, you hope are the right ones, you always want to match them up just to make sure that they're the exact same. I've had it happen before where the rotors don't line up exactly right, and you put them on, you're going to have a problem. So you got to make sure you lay them down like this here. Check to make sure they're the exact same height. Take the rotor and lay the other rotor over the top of the old rotor just to make sure that it's the same size here. Make sure all your bolt holes line up. and that's it. It appears to be correct. All right, so let's throw this back on the car and we'll continue. Seems very simple, but I mean, it had it happen before where somebody gave you the wrong rotor. All right, then we just take the rotor, put it on like this, and it slides right on. Now that previous rotor, it has a little plug that goes right in there to adjust the parking brakes. We're going to take it out of the old rotor, and we're going to put it back into the new one. You just push it out with a screwdriver, and you just push it right back in the other with a screwdriver again. All right, that's it. It keeps any kind of water or anything from going inside there. It reduces the water going inside. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to put this back onto the car. Now, if you have the brake pads in and they're probably going to fall out, well, you can just take them out for now. And put it here, and then we're going to mount the bracket back on the car. Now remember, you have to have that bolt back in there already because you won't be able to get in there later on. So you have your caliper onto that lower pin. And then we're going to catch the bolts that hold the bracket in place. And we're going to screw them in by hand as far as you can by hand. And once you've got the top port, then we're just going to go, we're going to do the exact same thing on the bottom one. And you may have to just slide it around a little bit. You may have to slide the bracket just a little bit to get the bolt to catch and screw in. Make sure it's only done by hand. No ratchet, no wrench, no nothing. Do it by hand first so you don't cross it by accident. Screw them in as far as you possibly can. And then you can get in there with your wrench and your ratchet and tighten everything up as tight as you can. And now remember the bottom one, we couldn't get in by the bottom one with a ratchet, so we're just going to tighten that up with a wrench as tight as we can. Nice and tight. Now, remember the inner brake pad is in place where it belongs. Just put your outer brake pad back in where it took it out, and it just slides right in and pushes in nice and easy. And then just rotate your caliper up all the way. Now remember, we pushed that piston all the way back in before with the screwdriver. But if that piston is sticking out a little bit too far, then you need to get a tool. I'll grab the tool, I'll show you what it looks like. This is the tool that you would actually, there's lots of different kinds, but this is basically how it works. You would take the old brake pads that you had, you put this tool in here, or whatever tool you have, and you turn this, and you push the piston back into the bore as far as it can go. But in this case, we did it with the screwdriver and pushed it all the way back in, so you eliminated this step by pushing that in with a screwdriver. All right, then you rotate your caliper back up, and you grab your slide pin that we previously lubricated, and you put it in, and you tighten it down as tight as you can by hand first. And then once you have it as tight as you can by hand, then you come in here with your ratchet, which is a 14mm again, and you tighten it up. Now you remember that bottom bolt right there, we couldn't take that out all the way, but we did loosen it. So we're just going to tighten that up now, and that's tight. All right. So Let me just recap exactly what we did again, so you know. Okay. We made sure our 14 millimeter bolt on top and bottom of the caliper are tight. We made sure our 19 millimeter that holds the mounting bracket to the car itself is on tight, the top and the bottom. We put that piece back inside here, that rubber piece, to keep the water from going in by the parking brakes. And the last thing we did is we lubricated all of the slide pins where the brake pads go, and they slide back and forth on. And that's it. We're pretty much all set. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go around to the opposite side of the car, and we're going to duplicate what we did here on the other side. And that's it. We'll be all set. The last thing you want to do after you do the brakes, before you drive it, get in, pump the brake pedal, and what that brake pump of the brake pedal does is it pushes this piston back out so it touches into the brakes and it gives you a nice firm pedal. And that's it. All right, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.